Be the Change is the name of the program. We do welcome you this Wednesday, as it has been for the past 1 month, 6 weeks. Yes, no, maybe, perhaps. Yeah, we've been doing Be the Change. And today it's no different. We'd like to look at those things, those values that we can embrace to ensure that we contribute positively to improving the quality of livelihoods for each and every one of us. I mean, we've got a stake when it comes to making the world a better place and a pillar of hope. The institution behind this snowball initiative, Be the Change, is doing exactly that. Welcome to the program. I'm yours truly, Samuel Njoroge. I've got a panel in studio that I will be introducing in just a bit. But before then, what are we discussing today? We're looking at the environment. And the question is, how do you take care of the environment? That's the question we are posing to you this morning. How do you take care of the environment? The SMS number is 70702. Text and tell us how you take care of the environment. Be an agent of change. In case you're not, welcome to the program. We do hope that at the end of it all, you shall be an agent of change. Let me introduce my guests this morning. And I'd like to begin with my immediate left. I've got Dr. Catherine Mbaisi, who is the Chief Environmental Awareness and Public Participation Coordinator at NEMA. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure to have you. And to my extreme left, we've got John Vagana, the Program's Director, Pillar of Hope. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
Mpo salama. That's great. Now I'd like to begin with you, John. How do you take care of the environment?
Thank you, Sami, and good morning, Kenyans. Thank you for tuning in again. We are always happy to be here to share on this very, very important discussion for Be the Change.
Right.
The environment is actually a very important part of our lives. And I think since time immemorial, even in the Bible, I think the first chapter talks about how the environment came into being and what it is that God created. So I believe it is what is around us. I believe it's what we live for. And we should always remember that what it is that we have around us is what we should take care of.
Right.
So back to your very good question. I think it's a conscious decision to be fair, to be honest, and to be very sensitive to the world around you. I've used those words because I know we've been discussing those other issues as we've been moving on.
Yes.
And I believe those virtues are important for us to be able to appreciate the world around us. Either it's the people, either it's the resources, either it's the life. I mean, the life is the flora and fauna that we have around us. So how sensitive are we to those issues around us?
Okay.
And how do we respond
Yes.
to the activities that are around us?
Yes.
I don't know that I've been able to capture.
Let me insist and
Yes.
move away from the how
Yes.
to the what. What does John Thagana do on a daily basis that contributes to taking care of the environment?
Very, very strong and straight.
Yes.
First and foremost, you have to be able to manage the resources around you. If, for example, a very basic fact, we go and try to brush our teeth every morning, and we leave it tap running.
Yeah.
That itself, I've seen many places when we were in school, you find that people are not conscious that the fact that you need to conserve. That's simple, bare fact. In the morning, I've seen very many people who are not able to live to that fact.
Right.
The litter around us, you wrap and drop a packet of biscuits, packet of sweets, you eat a mandasi in the streets, and you just drop the trash next to you, whether it's at the hotel. Very simple things that we do, unconsciously. So once you get, you know, over time, I never used to care really, and it's good to be very honest.
Yes.
We never used to care. We were young and we would do all manner of things. But as you get conscious to what is around you, I think you make it your business to try and be very conscious.
Right.
Sometimes you fall into the trap of leaving a plastic bottle at a place that you expect who else will come and pick it. Okay? So I think it's being conscious is what I try to do every day.
And making deliberate decisions.
Making deliberate
Very
decisions.
deliberate.
Yes, yes.
That I will not do this,
Yes.
I intend to do this instead. I come to you, Dr. Catherine. We're talking about the environment and what we do to conserve it, but let's begin with the basics. What is environment? Because I know this term has been defined by so many people in different ways, but what is the environment?
Thank you very much. The environment is everything around us, everything that surrounds us. We are talking about the flora, meaning the plants, all the plant life. We are talking about the animals, all animal life that surround us. We are talking about the physical environment that surround us. That comprises of the environment in a broad sense.
Exactly.
Yes.
You're from the National Environmental Management Authority?
Yes.
Exactly. And I would like to maybe get from you in terms of the policies that you come up with. Are they sufficient enough? And if so, what hinders proper implementation and embracing of these policies to change and make the environment a better place?
Yes, we, like you said rightly earlier, I work for the National Environment Management Authority. I work as a Chief Environmental Awareness and Public Participation Coordinator. And the authority is charged with the responsibility of supervising and coordinating all matters regarding the environment. And it does that through various policies that have been enacted. The first policy, guiding policy, is the Act, the Environmental Management and Coordination Act. Now is CAP 387. After the amendments, we have been calling it the Environmental Management and Coordination Act of 1999. But after the Constitution, we have been able to amend it, and now we are simply enacting or implementing the Environmental Management Act, CAP 387. That is the framework law. And then after that, we have been able to have other 8 regulations. 7. That is the framework law. And then after that, we have been able to have other 8 regulations. And these 8 regulations are able to look at maybe I can say specific issues. Like the first one is the Environmental Management and the Coordination Waste Management Regulation. This was enacted in 2006. Another one is the water quality. This looks at all the water resources that we have. The fact that if you are maybe discharging, it gives standards to what level is this wastewater be able to be discharged into the environment. You must treat your wastewater to a certain level that we are satisfied, provided for by the standard in that water quality management regulations before you discharge it into the environment.
Yeah.
Say the water is rivers or just the general environment. We have another one we call the controlled substances regulations. And this deals with the issues of ODS, or ozone depleting substances, so that if there are certain gases that are in our appliances that contribute to the degradation of the ozone layer, some of those gases have been phased out. And this regulation seeks to control the type of appliances and the type of gases that come into the country, because we don't manufacture them, they are imported. We have another regulation that deals with the biodiversity. We call it the access to genetic resources and benefit sharing. This deals with the control of our genetic resources. The fact that if there is maybe a research, someone wants to carry out a research using our natural, our genetic resources, in the event that this research gives rise to a product that can be beneficial, there must be a provision, or there is a provision, that the community that takes care of these genetic resources benefits.
Benefit from it.
From it.
But there's a point you raised on water, and I would like to cross over to John on this. There has been the long-standing conversation about the Nairobi River. And at one point, when the late Mishuki took over the environment docket, there was too much hope that finally we're going to get the Nairobi River back to its former glory. It hasn't happened yet. Is it just a question of institutions? Is it just a question of policy? Is it just a question of government? You and I are kind of involved at the end of the day.
You know, from where the regulations have been set, they are there to remind the public, to remind the institutions that, yes, we have these regulations in place, but the responsibility lies in each one of us to make sure that we are able to respect the flora, the fauna, the rivers, the water discharge. So I think the effort that were done previously by, could be the last governments, and even the current activities that are there within NEMA and the rest of the institutions around the ministry, I think they are there to supplement and complement what we should do as the public.
It begins with us.
And that's the reason why, as Be the Change,
yes,
we are reminding ourselves, starting with me, Daktari, Sami, that the responsibility of maintaining the Nairobi River is not for the minister. It's not for the executive. It's not for the parliamentarians. It's not for the county assembly. It's for each and every individual who lives around the environment of the river, who discharges any waste, who uses the resources of the river, that you must make sure that you maintain, so that we don't expect that it is the responsibility of the minister. So if that effort is not being directed, then we forget about the responsibility. So we want to encourage Kenyans that wherever you are, whatever you do, please remember it's your responsibility.
Exactly.
And that's why we are encouraging every time we are on this program. We remind Kenyans that, yes, we have not been doing the right things before. It's not too late for us to embrace.
Yes.
For example, respect the law. And where sometimes we go against the law, even if there are regulations, can we try and educate, and I'm sure that's what some of the things that her department does.
Exactly.
Remind the people that the laws were there for us to adhere to, but initially it is a responsibility. I remember when we were in school, sorry to indulge,
Go ahead.
they used to have this day to plant trees, and the nurseries were our responsibilities in school to prepare the nurseries. Then we had this special day that we used to go and plant, and you could find that eventually the young people started getting themselves involved in that process. And I'm not saying that they're not doing it. I'm just saying, even along the Nairobi River, how many times have I personally, for example, gone and planted a tree next to the river? You know, that thinking. So we are asking ourselves, can we start being very conscious? Even if you find somebody dispensing waste, educate, inform, and advise. I know there's penalties that are being given to the industries along the contours of the river who have to adhere, and there are many, many complaints about the waste. But I think it's deliberate, because the commercial interest and the social interest are not being balanced.
They're not being balanced.
Yes.
Which would then bring the question, Dr. You do a lot of awareness and public participation. When it comes to taking care of the environment, what are the basics? Where should we begin as a citizen, as a citizenry? Where should we begin when it comes to going into the action and the deed of taking care of the environment?
Okay, thank you. First of all, the Constitution provides, is very good, is very clear in terms of the environment, because it provides for, it says that every Kenyan has a right to a clean and healthy environment, but he has also a duty to take care, to protect the environment. So that is where it begins, because every Kenyan has a duty. It's actually a duty to take care and protect the environment. And we are saying that that self-consciousness is very important, to know that you as a Kenyan, you have a duty to protect the environment, such that everything that you do, you must know, you must be conscious that you have a right, or you have a duty to protect the environment. Simple things like waste management. All of us like a clean place. We want to stay in a clean house. We want to work in a clean space. But most of the time, people will sweep their place, but just sweep the waste outside for someone else to take care of that waste. What we are saying is that your waste is your responsibility. When you produce waste, because every person produces waste, when you produce that waste, you must know how you take care of that waste. We are encouraging every Kenyan, first of all, to reduce the amount of waste that they generate by having, embracing sustainable consumption, such that you really look at what you are consuming. What are you buying? Is what you are buying going to generate a lot of waste? And how are you disposing of this waste? We are encouraging Kenyans to embrace the concept of sorting out their waste, because some of the waste that comes out of our houses can be recycled. So let people embrace sorting the waste, like the organic waste. If it comes from the household, when it's clean, it can be recycled, it can be fed to animals, it can be used to make compost, which can then help to improve our soil. If it is plastics, like the glass bottles or the plastic bottles, they can be recycled into other valuable materials like fencing posts, or or some, they can even be reused back to make basins. So there are many things that we can do, and we are encouraging Kenyans to look at how they can protect the environment. In terms of wastewater, I think we have all a responsibility. If you are having a flat, you must provide for proper receptacle for your waste. Either you put it into a septic tank, or you embrace the idea of being able to recycle this wet water, so that by the time it goes into the environment, it is not harmful. Yeah.
It is no longer harmful.
Yeah.
And at this note where we're talking about, it is reuse, reduce, recycle.
Yes.
Reuse comes first, then reduce, then recycle.
Yes.
That is the order, isn't it? Or any can come first.
Any can come first, but the value.
The value.
The value. Because if you can reuse it, your own. Then if it is a plastic bottle and you can reuse it, the better. Because then you will reduce the amount of waste that goes into the environment.
Absolutely. Then let's take a look at this clip, and then we'll be back more on this conversation when it comes to environment. How you take care of the environment is the question we are posing this morning. 70702 is the SMS line. Keep talking to us. For now, here's the clip.
Have you heard the latest from Lamu?
Ati? Umesikia mambo kutoka Lamu?
They're building a boat.
Yeah, but those guys are always building boats in Lamu.
No, but I mean they're building a boat from plastic.
Any boat ya plastic.
Okay, so the little kids are always building boats from plastic. And
These guys are building a really big boat from plastic.
I mean, bigger than a chopper.
Huh? Bigger than a city hopper bus.
Bigger than a house.
kubwa kama nyumba ya ghorofa. What?
They want to build it out of plastic collected from the streets and beaches here in Kenya.
And sail it all the way down to Cape Town.
Tell me something, between me and you. How much plastic do you throw away?
Plastic bags.
Plastic cups.
Umaya plastic.
Plastic plate.
Plastic wrappers.
Plastic lighter.
Straw zenyewe ni plastic.
Hii ni nini? Hii ni plastic.
Plastic
Hair.
Actually, that looks pretty good.
So, did you know that plastic doesn't go away?
It doesn't decompose like a banana peel.
Unakuta merusha tu kwa barabara tukiolela.
Have you ever looked at a tree from a distance and it looks like it's birds on it, and then you get closer and closer, and then suddenly you discover it's plastic bags?
It kind of just sticks around forever.
Milele yani, najua.
There is another time I'm going to Kawangware and I say a big cow. Nilikuwa nakula hiyo karatasi. Mimi mwenyewe nilikimbia ndio niende nitoe hiyo karatasi kwa mdomo.
The cows eat it.
Fish and birds eat it. Goats eat it.
Chicken eat it.
And because they eat it,
We end up eating it.
Did you know that over 12 million tons of plastic
is dumped into the world's oceans every year?
That's a huge lorry full per minute.
Nakubaliana na wewe, plastic bag ni useful. But pia ni sumu. That's why hata gava wanataka kuibana.
Did you know that by 2050,
We will have more plastics in the ocean than fish?
Plastic? Really?
but Kenyans are doing something about it?
That's how we roll.
People have begun to collect tons of plastic.
All the garbage that litters our streets.
Plastic that washes up on our beaches.
Once they've collected it, and then put it in our big crushing machines, which crush about 2-3 tons a day.
Then they melt it down into building materials.
It is strong.
Once they've collected it, and then put it in our big crushing machines, which crush about 2-3 tons a day.
Then they melt it down into building materials.
It is strong.
Wow, hiyo ni plastiki. Jonjo.
In Lamu, Captain Ali is going to build a big, beautiful boat made out of plastic.
Wanajenga hili boti kutoka plastiki.
And he's going to sail it all the way
From Lamu
to Cape Town.
Imagine.
Buddha, ni true story.
The expedition is going to be a world first.
another Kenya world first.
Together,
Pamoja. Let's reuse,
recycle, and reduce our use of plastic.
You
You can be part of the plastic revolution.
Let's make it happen.
The plastic revolution.
Plastic revolution it is. Courtesy of flipfloppy.com. Thank you so much for that. And of course, Captain Ali, wish you all the best as you row the plastic boat down to Cape Town. I hope I'll get a ride. We do hope we'll get a ride. All right? Or is it a voyage? Yes, no, maybe. But let's go back to our conversation this morning. It all boils down to how you take care of the environment. And before we went to the clip, we were looking at the concept of reuse, reduce, and recycle. And that video has given a very common, basic example. Plastic. How do you treat plastic waste? Because at the end of the day, it will not just lie around somewhere. It will end up here in your body, in our bodies, all right? So it's very critical that we look at how we treat our waste. And earlier on, I'd like to cross over to you, John.
Yes.
Daktari did touch on a couple of issues, some of them that are legal, others are policy-oriented. But then looking at Wanjiko, looking at the ordinary citizen, where exactly do we get it wrong? Is it arrogance? Is it a don't care attitude? What exactly goes wrong?
Thank you, Sammy, and I want to break it into, could be three quickly, into three basic segments of our influence.
Right.
First is economic, secondly is social, and thirdly is political. So on the economic bit, we find that there's a very thin line between how we deal with the business of the manufacturers of plastic,
yes,
the users of plastic, and the disposal of the same material. So I think the laws are very clear. Dr. has enumerated the policies, the regulation, and what's supposed to be done. But I think we don't have a follow-through in that process. So now the users are aware of the hazards of how they dispose of that product. I know there's a lot of discussion about the pending regulation on the plastic use and the thin line between the economics of the business and could be the balance of the alternative. It could be where we shall have to have a lot of wisdom in how we deal with it. But to the basic issue of the plastic, I think it's important for us to be aware of the degradation effect to the environment and how do we very carefully be able to manage that effect. To the social effect, over time we have become used to the fact that we go to the supermarkets, we pack our goods in plastic bags. It has become a culture.
Yes.
Now, all of a sudden, this culture is under threat because the regulation has come to deal with that issue. So how do you change the culture of the people who've been used to this behavior? And that's what I'm saying, even as a program on Be the Change. I went to my local butchery the other day.
Yes.
So I asked the guy, now that this pending legislation is coming into town, what have you done to educate your customers that his normal kilo of meat is never going to be carried home in that plastic bag? What are you going to do so the customer keeps on coming to your shop? And he says, it is their business. I told him, no. You should think about another ingenious way to have something that will be identified with you for him or her to be able to patronize you. I said, oh, okay. So we start looking for those gaki paper that is wrapped. Yes. So no, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is you become aware that this issue is. So until we are able to change and appreciate the effects that it has, I think that is where the challenge is for us as the public.
Right.
When you come to the politics of the issue, I think we need to be careful how we disseminate the information to the public, and how we are able to be honest about the legislation that has been effected. So that now that education process, which is what Dr. and their team are doing, is very clear. And I like the fact that the law is very clear. It's a right. It's a duty for you to protect the environment. So when we come back to the program, because I would like to try and ask, the integrity of the behavior towards the environment is where we are saying, can we start celebrating the institutions, the people individually, the groups that are conscious of how they treat the environment? I know there are many estates around the counties in this country where people have made it their business that every weekend they come out in numbers, they form groups, they form chamas to clean up their own respective areas. If we were able to celebrate those people individually in their localities, that will help others start to emulate that good behavior. So culturally, we shall be able to have been able to knock down that barrier that these things can be done. Politically, it will be seen as a public-driven process. So it doesn't leave it to the authorities, to the executive, to the government to effect these changes. So I think all of these are intertwined. And I think a healthy environment is good for all of us. When we have fresh air, it's not only the president who breathes fresh air. He is driver. He is mechanic. Does he take his car to the garage?
Yeah.
No, okay.
Yes,
he does, eh?
Yes.
Okay. He's a guard.
Fundi.
He's fundi. He's tailor. So all these guys around the executive,
yes,
will breathe the fresh air. Even where the food comes from, all these things are part of the food chain. Correct, Dr.
Yeah.
So I think we cannot run away from the fact that we are born and bound together with the environment.
And it's a collective responsibility.
Process.
That's the approach.
Yes.
Dr. coming to you, a lot of talks. Kyoto, Copenhagen, Durban. You know, the recent one was in France, late last year. Is it just talk? And I'm asking this even on behalf of the people who push for how conversations at this level affect this level. You know, when top countries gather, but then developing nations are bearing the brunt. Does it translate to any gain? These conversations that we usually have around the environment? Or does it settle as just talk?
No, it doesn't just settle as talk, because what we are doing, most of the policies that we enact as a country, in most cases, not even in most cases, they arise as a result of those international talks. Because once we commit ourselves as a country to those talks, like you have rightly talked about the Durban, Paris, all those protocols as a country, once we've ratified, then we are bound. And we come back home and enact policies. And I think as a country, we have done well in terms of enacting some of those policies, and we are actually implementing them. most of those regulations that we have talked about and as NEMA we are implementing are as a result of our commitment to those international conversations and politics. And I think they have helped us to really manage the environment. Of course, there are challenges, but I think as a country we have been able to make great progress in terms of managing the environment. Yeah.
Why the environment as a contributor to integrity?
You look at the status quo and you realize some things have gone wrong, either by default or by commission. And sometimes you find it either it's because of lack of planning, that, for example, we build houses along the river. Now, you can decide to deal with it or make sure that down the rest of the river, you don't interfere with the flow of the natural process. So you find also sometimes people make deliberate mistakes. They are conscious that they're doing the wrong thing. This guy is driving the best SUV in town. The back seat, somebody sitting in the same car, opens the window and throws the last trash of the last meal they had onto the road. And you ask yourself, are you not conscious? Even if it's your child or your passenger, what has been the process of educating the people around you that that is wrong? Because might be you, the owner of the vehicle, you're conscious, but your passenger has deliberately not been able to meet the standards that are met. So I think in terms of the integrity of the protection of the environment, we are asking, are there people out there? And I want Kenyans to be able to answer, like what we're asking today. Do we have people around you who are consciously taking care of the environment? Are they doing it so that they can be rewarded? Are they doing it because it's part of their natural character? Are they doing it because they feel the law is within sight? And we are saying we want to celebrate those people who consciously do what they're supposed to do. I was walking at Jivanji the other day, and this guy is walking around picking the trash and put it in a can during his lunchtime break. So I was asking, is the employer saying him do this? Or is it doing it because some of us will go to the prayer session, others we go to chat, others tunaenda bunge la wananchi. But this guy is using his lunchtime 1 hour to go and collect that. I said, I wish I had a camera to pick this and take it to his employer. He'll be the employee of the month. Not because he posted any good results in whatever he does at the office, but this simple trait that he has exhibited is natural. So how many of us out there are unconsciously doing that? You find these days I've found that the public service vehicles, they have deliberately gone and calibrated the engines to emit this. I don't know whether that is in your pollution laws, to emit this noise and smoke to attract more passengers into the vehicle. I said, okay, but is it because we love that emission? Is it because we bought that matatu?
It's the swag.
Is it the swag?
It's the swag.
So it is okay. Can we have then an emission that is environmental friendly? That guy blows out of the matatu, which is not actually coming from the engine. To have the same effect. I don't know. So that's what we are saying. There's a culture change. So can we then try and get this so that we can appeal to the same passenger, get this boom, whatever you want to call it, to attract the guys into the same vehicle, but it's not going to affect the environment. Very simple things that we would want to be very conscious to. It reminds me of
And maybe the electronic waste, because it is specialized waste. Okay. Like for the organizations, like in my institution, we have 3 bins.
3 bins.
Yes, we have plastics, we have organic, and we have paper. Paper, because you know we generate quite, like institution, quite a lot of paper. Okay. So we have those bins.
I think I'll start with 2. I'm guilty of that. I only have 1.
Okay.
For me, trash is one big happy family of trash. So I just put it in the trash house, trash can. Treat it as one big happy family.
Trash family comes first.
The trash family, and there you go. But I think then now I'll get 2 bins, 1 for plastics and 1 for organic waste. I don't generate a lot of paper in my house.
Yeah. Depending on what type of waste you generate. Yes. If you have a lot of electronics, make sure you have. But electronic waste must always be treated separately. It should not be mixed with all other waste, because it has different or can have a hazardous effect. Yeah.
I would love to look forward to a day where umechoka na TV yako unasema this one belongs in the electronic trash can.
Or better still, there's a way that you dispose it. You may not put it in the bin, because in most cases it cannot go to the bin. But like your laptop, you can't put it in the bin. Because even when it's not working, it still has very valuable components. So you can take it to somebody who can dismantle it and mine all the good parts, and then dispose of carefully those components that are hazardous.
But that person can pick it up from the bin, from the electronic waste bin. I'm just stretching the response a little further. Thank you all for watching the show this morning. That is Be the Change. How are you able to contribute to positive change in the society? That is precisely why we are having this topic this morning, and the conversation continues. Keep it right here. We shall keep having more and more and more of these discussions. It gets better by the day. So join into the family, and together let us be agents of change. You never know. Next week or sometime later, we could be in your neighborhood. And in case we are, feel free to welcome us into your neighborhood. My name is Samuel Njoroge. Thank you so much for watching. This remains to be the only way to start your day. Good morning, Kenya. Haijai Shabado. Much more is coming up. Keep it right here.